Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase and this is All Things Rum. Today we are looking at this from AVI-8 Watches, and this specifically is the P-51 Mustang Hitchcock Automatic. Now I am super excited to review this watch. I love AVI-8 watches. I love the stuff that they're doing, and I'm really excited to bring you this watch. I'm gonna give you some of the history behind it as well as an in-depth review and my thoughts. So with that in mind, let's just flip the camera around and dive right into the unboxing and review of this watch. Now today we're looking at this AVI-8 watch, like I said in the beginning, the P-51 Mustang Hitchcock Automatic. Now why is it called the Hitchcock Automatic? Well, that's because this thing is inspired from an actual real life person, and when we get into it, you'll understand more fully. But the P-51 Mustang is a World War II plane. Now just a little bit first of who Tommy Hitchcock Jr. was. Now Tommy Hitchcock was a World War I veteran who then, after the war, went to Harvard, went to Oxford, then became a professional polo player. He uses influence to sort of push the modification for the current P-51 Mustang that was in production during World War II. He pushed it to be more of a high-altitude escort fighter for the bombers, which, if anybody knows about World War II history, this plane single-handedly won the war. Now you could say, well, no, it was the bombers, or it was this, or it was that. Really, if these things weren't around to provide an escort for the bombers, then the bombers would have been taken down at every hand. These things were amazing. These things were the F-22s of World War II. Absolutely love the P-51 Mustang. It is my favorite airplane by far. Out of any type of fighter, it is absolutely my favorite. So really excited to review this watch. So this is just the box, the outer box that this watch comes in. A little bit of history before we really get into it. Now, I never really had an opportunity to review an AVI-8 watch. I have been looking at AVI-8 watches for quite a long time, but you know, other channels like Ben Arthur on Ben's watch reviews, you know, he had some things to say about them, but honestly, when I got the chance to look at this watch, I was in absolute awe of their press release, the details in it, and everything else. And I will tell you that this is an absolutely beautiful watch. Now, something right off the bat that, to be honest, I've already had this watch out. I repackaged it up so you guys understand what it's like when you get it yourself. But one of the things that I really like about this watch, but it's very difficult to film, is it has a really heavy AR coating on the outside. So this is a black dial, but you can see that it has a hue of like a bluish purple because it has an anti-reflective coating. So when you look at it dead on, it is very easy to see in the sunlight. So keep that in mind as we're going through this review. You'll say, oh, it looks blue, it looks black. It's really that AR coating. You can see it just flickering there in the light. Honestly, a lot of watches do not have AR coating, like even the Rolex Submariner. One of my Rolex Submariner does not have AR coating, and it is just a flat dead piece of sapphire. This is a curved piece of sapphire. And honestly, it is extremely difficult to actually read the Rolex straight on if the sun is out. So honestly, this is a very beautiful watch. One of the things that really pops on this watch at first glance, and I'll tell you that I've looked at it for hours and hours, and I know that seems ridiculous, but that is going to be the dial. The dial is an absolutely beautiful layered dial. It's multi-layered. So really what that means is it has extreme and extraordinary depth to it. So it just has a lot of intricate thought in it. Sometimes when you see watches that are, you know, they're sort of put together, thrown together, this is not that at all. You can tell that they have a lot of thought in this dial. One of the things I love the most is around the indices. You can see that a lot of pilots' watches mostly have the minutes around the outer. So an example would be my Hamilton Khaki Big Pilot. has the minutes around the outside, the hours along the inside, so it's easy and more legible to read, right? It would say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then it would have 1, 2, 3, 4 all around the inside track. Well, it's nice to see that they sort of did both on here, and it's very beautifully done. You have printed minutes at the 1, the 4, the 8, and the 11, and then you have really deep recessed at the 2, the 5, the 7, and the 10. Honestly, I think it's very beautifully done. Love the red seconds hand, has a little red lollipop on the other side, and it has the date down at the 6 o'clock position. Now this uses the NH35, which is a workhorse movement. Now the NH35 is in basically a lot of the micro brand watches, and it is extremely well known for its reliability. Now its reliability when it comes to its timekeeping per day can be anywhere from plus 25 seconds today to even in the negative. However, this, as I've been wearing it for the last few weeks, I'm looking at about plus 8 seconds a day, which is really good for the NH35. You can see right here on the back, it does say 10 Goal Tommy, and that was Tommy Hitchcock Jr.'s nickname during his polo career. So honestly, it's really cool how they do this, sort of inspired by history's greatest heroes that are basically unsung. Now, did you know who 10 Goal Tommy was before I mentioned it in here? No, you wouldn't, but maybe you know about the Doolittle raid, right? A very famous and popular raid, but you've never heard of 10 Goal Tommy. So it's really cool that they're giving a light on people who inspired, the success of certain events. Now, first, before we get into the measurements, let's just talk about the case. Has a fixed brushed bezel, has a very nice cushion style case, very soft on the edges. I mean, it's actually just extremely well done. High polished, nice on the end links with brushed on the top. It has a genuine leather band. The band isn't my favorite, I'm gonna be honest. However, it goes very well with the watch. But I also have another classic style Pilot's watch band that I'm gonna put on this at the end, and we'll see just how it looks. You have the crown at the 3 o'clock position, and you have a crown guard just over top of it. Now they say that this crown guard is indicative of the exhaust ports on a P-51 Mustang. So really cool to see. I mean, honestly, I actually love these sort of crown guards, the smaller crown guards. Clearly, people would say, hey, it looks sort of like a Panerai. However, this is far smaller, doesn't have a latch that allows it to lock down, but this is very, very well done. Full 316L stainless steel case, has a sapphire crystal, like I said, and again, the NH35 in the back. Let's just do the measurements real quick, then we'll try it on the wrist. Okay, now I already know the measurements of this watch. However, it's really good for people to see just what it comes across on the calipers. And a lot of times when people mention a 43 millimeter case diameter, they're really not including the crown guard. And a lot of times they'll say, hey, the lug width is 20 millimeters. However, they're really not including the lug to lug, which is the footprint of the actual watch. To me, that is the most important because it tells you just how it's gonna fit on your wrist. Okay, so right now, because there is a crown guard right here, it's really hard to get an actual measurement of the case diameter itself. It says 44.6. Now it's listed as a 43 millimeter, which, to me would be accurate. Because if I go slightly above on the actual bezel, it says, 43. With the crown guard attached, it is 46.78. The lug width is going to be 22 on the lugs, and then the lug to lug, which to me, like I said, is the most important, is going to be just over 50, about 51. So it honestly isn't going to sit very large on the wrist. Now, if you look at something like the khaki Big Pilot, it does sit pretty large on the wrist. However, like I said, I've worn this for a couple weeks now, and this thing is extremely comfortable. The NH35 does offer hacking and hand winding. Right now, it just does have a push down crown, 50 meters of water resistance, not screw down. So if you want to wind it, you can simply just rotate and it will wind. Pull it out once, goes to the date function, pull it out a second time, and you have the time function right there. One of the things I really like, again, let's just talk about this dial. The dial is very beautiful to me. If they didn't do the dial correctly on this, I think that it would not be as beautiful as it actually is, right? I love Hamilton. I keep bringing up my Hamilton Khaki Big Pilot. It's the only pilot's watch I own, and one of the things that I like about that watch is its simplicity. But one of the things I like about this watch is the fact that it has that beautiful layered dial, and it's not as simplistic, but it still offers simplicity. So I'll explain it again by the simplicity. The minutes and hours around the outside, right, are intermingled, right, in a very specific way. I love the hands, right? The hands are skeletonized, which you could say, well, that would make it hard to read. But the pure fact that they offer an off color like a yellow or sort of custard color, right? It pops on that black dial in the background, so it's extremely easy to see. One of the things that I don't like about the NH35 specifically is just the date function on it. You can see that about, 10 minutes before 11, the date starts changing over and then finally pops over just after the midnight. Well, that's not a big deal, but it's just indicative of the NH35. That's basically the only down thing that I have to say about this watch, is it uses an NH35. However, the watch itself is only $330 US. So honestly, you're not spending a lot of money on a automatic pilot's watch with sapphire crystal, stainless steel, casing, really beautiful finishing, and, a really cool story behind it. Honestly, I think they really designed a winner in this watch. Let's go ahead and try it on the wrist. Now here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist, and I didn't do the thickness of this watch, but it is 14 millimeters in thickness. I did check it with the calipers, so it doesn't sit too high at all. Honestly, I think it sits perfectly on the wrist. 50 millimeters on its footprint from the lug to lug. Doesn't sit too big. But when it comes to pilot's watches, you don't want a small, dainty watch. An example of that would be the 36 millimeter Datejust. That is more of a dress watch. But if you're gonna wear a pilot's watch, it needs to be very legible and easy to read. And honestly, this is extremely easy to read. Right now it says 12:10 approximately. Well, very easy to read, right? You can see it at a glance, no big deal at all. The next thing we're gonna check on this is gonna be its lume. Lume to me is extremely important to include being on a pilot's watch. Lume on a pilot's watch and a diver's watch is extremely important. On an everyday watch, on a dress watch, it's not that important. So if you're gonna represent a pilot's watch, one that is designed and inspired after World War II, it's gonna need to have good lume. So let's go ahead and shut off the studio lighting and check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and shut off the studio lighting and you'll see exactly what the lume looks like. Honestly, I think the lume, and this is just in 60-watt studio lighting, looks pretty amazing, especially on camera here. Very difficult sometimes to pick up lume on cameras, honestly. I think they did a pretty dang good job, and it looks like they lumed in all the right places. Honestly, pretty impressed. Well, Chase, you mentioned what if I don't like it on the brown strap? Well, you should never be afraid to change your watch strap. Honestly, it really does make a watch that maybe you are losing interest in your collection, and it really turns it into something else. So for me, I look at watch straps and watch bands sort of like, your wardrobe, right? Now, a person is the watch case, the dial, the movement inside, and the straps to me are the clothing that you wear on a day-to-day basis. Never be afraid to change the watch strap. It doesn't matter if it's on the black aftermarket riveted strap that you see here, or it's on the stock brown strap. Never be afraid. Honestly, I think that AVI-8 is offering a lot of bang for buck in this watch, and I love the fact that this micro brand, this watch company, is using inspired designs from real life stories and giving you guys sort of a taste of the behind the scenes of history, right? A lot of watch companies don't do that. A lot of them stick with main selling points. Well, a lot of people don't know, like I said multiple times in this video, who Tommy Hitchcock Jr. was, but you know now. So I'm glad I could bring this watch to you guys and hopefully you guys are interested in it yourself. Now, pilot's watches, similar to dive watches, aren't for everybody, but honestly, this thing really checks all the boxes for me. Beautiful dial, beautiful case, beautiful strap, and if you want to change the strap, that black strap also looks awesome on it. It's really hard sometimes to find a watch that you could basically put any strap on. This is one of those watches. Honestly, AVI-8, you guys are doing a great job in your watches. If you guys are interested, I'm gonna leave a link down below straight to their website. Not affiliated, so I'm not gonna be getting anything for this except an awesome watch. So if you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment on the content you guys would like to see on this channel. I have so many videos coming in the future, a lot of tactical videos coming up in the future. And when I do those tactical videos, I'm also gonna be doing that release of the in-depth review of that AVI-8 compass watch that I just released not that long ago. We'll be going out in the field and I will be reviewing hiking stuff right along with it. We're gonna get lost and hopefully that thing doesn't kill me. Now, hit that notification bell so you guys can be notified when I drop that next video. Until next time.